Hello and welcome to TheAIbumMan, and today we're going to be talking about 5 albums which disappointed me in 2016. Now 2016 was full of a lot of wonderful music and a lot of terrible events, but there were certainly 5 albums that really stood out to me as disappointing me. Now these are not going to be in any order, okay? I don't see a point to do any order with these type of lists anymore. I just want to talk about them. Now, I'm sure many of you will disagree with me, and probably some violently so, and I look forward to that response. This is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. So feel free to disagree and tell me why you love these records, or happily tell me why you think they're pretty bad as well. So, in no particular order, let's start with one of the ones that I actually reviewed. I didn't review much in 2016, but, I reviewed the odd thing. And one of the things I did review was Heart's Beautiful Broken. If you saw my review of that, you'll know why it's on this list. What an underwhelming album that was, and what underwhelming bands they were live. Live, their set list was, and they just weren't that good. And then I listened to their new studio album, and I found a bunch of re-recordings of songs from the 80s and songs that had already been released, and the odd new song and James Hetfield appearing for no reason. It was a weird mishmash of just not very good Heart. I admit I'm more of a 70s Heart guy myself. I like the odd song from the 80s, that there's a bit of fun to be had with their big, catchy, 80s pop songs, I guess. But modern Heart has not been something I've enjoyed massively, and this is a new low for them. Just the sheer lack of creativity on this record, the rehashing and re-recording of... some of the re-recordings were okay, at least they tried to do something a bit different, but others of them really didn't. They were just pretty much straight up re-recordings, aside from they sounded older and played slower. I don't mean to sound too harsh, but it was not a particularly enjoyable album. Another one I got to talk about is, and again this is unfortunate because I thought he was on such a good streak recently, Elton John with Wonderful Crazy Night. Now live, fantastic, no complaints. And God, the couple of albums he'd released before this were honestly wonderful. You had The Diving Board, which I gave a glowing review to back in 2013, I think, 2014. I don't even know anymore, maybe 2014. It was great, and the album before that, which the name is eluding me, but it's honestly one of my favourite Elton John albums. But this, he kind of with this, he maybe goes, the last couple of albums have been more piano-driven albums, right? But instead here, it's more kind of band-driven, sort of, he's trying to channel that 70s pop vibe he had, with his 70s albums. I feel he really doesn't do a particularly great job of it, neither him nor Benny Taupin on the lyrics. The lyrics are not very good on this album. Yeah, it's one of those... Is it a bad album? No, it's just so mediocre, and he's been on such a good streak recently. I guess I just had pretty high expectations for it. I was expecting another introspective, piano-driven, beautiful, melodic album, and instead I just get this kind of catchy-ish, but a bit corny and cheesy pop rock record. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but you can honestly judge a lot about this album by its cover. The Astonishing by Dream Theater. This is going to be a controversial one. This was an astonishing disappointment. I know, what a pun. But it deserves. And I talked about this in my series, The Musical Box. And it met with a mixed reception, certainly the album. You got some people praising it's like the best Dream Theater album since Metropolis Part 2, or Images and Words. And then you got others saying it was the worst Dream Theater album since Falling to Infinity. And I'm a huge Dream Theater fan. Certainly, I've seen them, I think, 3 or 4 times now, and I'm going to be seeing them again play Images and Words in its entirety for its 25th anniversary. But this did nothing for me, really. I was kind of hyped. I really liked the last couple of albums since Mike Portnoy's departure. I'll forever love Mike Portnoy. But the last couple of albums have been pretty damn good. Not this one. What was the problem? Well, it was too long. Way too long. It was this sprawling 2-disc epic. And another big problem was it was a concept album with pretty crap concept. The concept honestly read like it had been written by I don't know, like a GCSE creative writing student or something. It was horrible. It's like some kid saw Game of Thrones and was like, let's write a fan fiction. And it just didn't engage me. I honestly hated the story. And the thing with Metropolis Part 2, it had a really clever story. I was really engaged into it. It was mysterious. I didn't quite know what was going on. There was these different states, the unconscious and the mind of Nicholas. And, there was a lot of stuff going on. And then that amazing ending, it like really hits you. This didn't have any punch, any gravitas, any weight to the story. It's this overblown fantasy epic in which barely anything was developed nor fleshed out. At some points, it seemed like it was trying to be 2112, with when the prince sort of discovers or the princess, or I can't even remember what character. Some character discovers a musical instrument. I was like, is this going full on 2112 now? And musically, it wasn't even that good. It seemed to lack a lot of metal. I mean, disc 1 had some metal to it, but disc 2 was full of slow, ballady songs that went nowhere. This is not an album I can even face return to. I've listened to it twice, and I have no plans to listen to it anytime soon, which is not like me with a Dream Theater album. I will usually devour them and listen to them loads. I listen to Dream Theater all the time. Not the Astonishing. We may as well go on with another controversial one. This one is Hardwired to Self-Destruct by Metallica, the last album review I made of 2016. And I expressed then my views, so I'm sure most of you are well aware of my views, so I'll keep this short. I thought this was an underwhelming record. I didn't think it was a bad record. I gave it a 6 out of 10. It was a good, just a slightly above average record. But by Metallica standards, that's not quite acceptable. I really liked Death Magnetic. I know that's maybe a tad controversial, but I thought that was a strong album. This album just bores me. It's too long for a start. They're trying to be Iron Maiden with the Book of Souls, aside from Iron Maiden made a really interesting album with the Book of Souls. This is Metallica, they're trying to make a thrash album, which I'll give them props to. There are some thrash moments, and there's some great tracks on this. I mean, Moth into Flame and the like are wonderful songs. But it's so inconsistent, and when it gets bad, it gets really quite just dreary and monotonous riffs with barely any lead guitar work. It's just a James Hetfield chug fest for 90% of the album. Kirk Hammett, why did you lose your riffs? It's a shame. I think there's a really good album in there, honestly, a really good single album, but it's just cluttered with filler. The other album I have to mention is Braver Than We Are by Meatloaf. God, I wanted to like this album. I really wanted to like this album. Bad Out of Hell 3 was tremendous. I love that record. I would defend it forever, even though it was metal as hell. I'm going to say even though, I love metal, but I know a lot of Meatloaf fans, they didn't want metal in their Meatloaf. But I thought it worked. Blind as a Bat is one of the best songs the guy's ever done. So Meatloaf and Jim Steinman finally coming together for the first time properly since Bad Out of Hell 2, even though there were quite a few Jim Steinman songs on Bat 3. But that was produced by Desmond Child. So finally we had the power duo together, and I was so stoked. And then I find, and I hate to say this, that Meatloaf can't sing anymore. He really can't sing anymore. His voice is shot to pieces. It was almost sad listening to this record at times. This once great voice reduced to whatever it is on Braver Than We Are. I think Meatloaf was maybe a bit too brave in releasing this record. I just found it almost upsetting to listen to at times, because it was just so terrible vocally, and I hate saying that because I love Meatloaf's voice. I forever will. He's one of my favourite vocalists. And then songwriting wise, it didn't do much for me. Some of the lyrics were kind of fun. They had that whole Jim Steinman vibe to it, which is always good. And some of the collabs, Ellen Foley was on there, and that was really nice to see. I mean, Paradise by the Dashboard Light is my favourite Meatloaf song overall. But this was an album that I felt kind of meandered along. It didn't have any bang, any crescendo to it. It just plodded along and was sadder than anything else. So they've been my 5 most disappointing albums of 2016. I'd love to know what album disappointed you in 2016, or whether you actually really enjoyed the albums that I was disappointed by. This has been The Album Man. Thanks for watching. Conrad, subscribe, and long live rock and